Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. Good morning. It's Music and Stuff brought to you by Eureka Savings Bank. The best place to borrow, the best place to save. Joining me in studio right now, Ottawa native originally, Chris Gelbuda. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Now, you have quite the amazing career going on so far in your young life. How old are you?
32.
32 years young, and you started off at a young age, at the age of 6, at the Suzuki School of Music, and that means music was a very important part of your family growing up. To give some background, what can you play?
Anything but horns. Anything with strings or keys I can play. I played drums, mandolin, banjo, a lot of guitar, piano, Wurlitzer, B3. And you went to Ottawa High School? Yeah.
Graduated what year?
2002.
2002 graduate of Ottawa High School. And you played band in school?
No.
You avoided band in school?
No, I started a classic rock cover band called Hazed. You put two and two together there.
You can, it makes sense. What was the first song you heard that made you want to get it on cassette or a single and listen to it over and over?
One Way Out by the Allman Brothers from the Fillmore East record.
Ooh.
Which isn't an Allman Brothers song. I think it was T-Bone Walker or Willie Dixon. I don't know. Their version was the best, though. That's all I know.
And how old were you when you got that song and went, this is it?
I must have been like 15. My friend was jamming it at his house, and I said, who is this band? And he said, the Allman Brothers. But I thought he said the Almond Brothers, so internet was in the relatively new days, so I logged on to AOL and started searching for the Almond Brothers, and I eventually found what I was looking for.
Well, that would be the name of a great Allman Brothers band cover group, right? That would be
Right,
Almond Brothers.
Go. Yeah, then you can't get sued, right?
Now, 2 decades ago, you'd have been, about that age, 15 or so,
yeah,
give or take. Did you ever imagine yourself where you're at right now?
Yeah. This is what I was trying to do the whole time. Is just make music for a living, period. Any way I could. So whether it was playing at a bar or writing songs, I just didn't want to have a job. This is still a job, don't get me wrong. I just didn't want a regular job. Couldn't do it.
And about your job, to give some background so people know, you're a singer-songwriter living in Nashville, and you've been rather successful. What are some of the songs that you've written or helped produce?
Well, I guess this year I did, I've done 3 songs for Meghan Trainor in the last year. One of them was a single with her and John Legend. That was my first top 40 number 1, so that was pretty cool. And I did I wrote one for Frankie Ballard's new record, El Rio. It's called You Could Have Loved Me, and Love and Theft is about to release my song, On My Way to You, it's called. It's a ballad that's been sitting on the shelf in Nashville for like 4 years, and finally somebody cut it, so me and my writers are real happy.
Starting off with classical training, did you think about sticking with classical music at all, or was it just sort of the area where you learned classical music, but you just knew you were building towards rock and pop?
Well, when I was a kid, I think most people were kind of taking piano lessons from their local, old lady down the block. And when the Suzuki School came to town, my parents got real excited, and I had kind of grown up sitting on a piano bench, so they just kind of put me in that school. And at first it was like all classical stuff, but as I got older, I kind of quit playing piano exclusively and started picking up every instrument I could. So it was definitely a good primer in understanding, music theory and the kind of tones that make my brain happy and stuff,
And were your parents in a band?
No, my mom was just a really loud singer in church. But my sister Mary Beth was a songwriter, and she's like the oldest sister in my family, so she was always, letting me begrudgingly play with her guitar when I was like 10 years old and stuff, and eventually she kind of helped guide me through the process of learning the chords and stuff.
Any musician, living or dead, you'd like to get inside their head right now and see how they view the world or how they made music?
Yeah, a lot. Probably Bradley Nowell from Sublime, and Duane Allman, Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead, Trey from Phish, Frank Zappa.
Although Frank Zappa, that might be a little complicated in there. I don't know if there'd be enough room to get inside his head.
It would be horrifying, I think, but it would be interesting nonetheless.
When did it hit you that you could actually write a song? When did you realize that I can play somebody else's song, but I can sit here and maybe make something of my own?
I think I realized I was at practice with my high school band, and we had worked out this chord progression. I didn't have any words, and so I thought, okay, I'll just run upstairs and write the words real quick. And I did it, and everybody seemed to like the song. And I wish it was that easy for me now. It takes me like 8 hours to write a song with 3 people now, but it's a different world. But yeah, when I was like 15 or 16, I think is when I figured it out.
Is there still a song you wrote early on in your career that you're waiting to finish or reimagine?
No, they all make me cringe. And my big brother, that's still his favorite stuff, is my stuff from when I was like 15 and like nasally singing about stuff, total nonsense. And he's like, man, I love that song. Yeah. And I'm just like, no.
Recorded in the bathroom?
He recorded in the basement of my friend's house with 2 mics. We thought we were so hi-fi back then.
At what point did you decide to go try your luck in Nashville?
Well, I was in a band called Euphorchestra, and it was an Afrobeat band that had 9 people in the band when I joined. And it was such a great gig. We played for, a couple thousand people a weekend. We were out in Colorado and Montana and California just doing great gigs. But it's just hard to travel with 9 dudes. And so I kind of figured I should take a stab at songwriting. And I moved down to Nashville in, I think, 2007. Right before the economy crashed. So that was my first time moving to Nashville out of 3.
What is Nashville like now for an up-and-coming musician? Does anyone still show up at a bus station with a guitar, a backpack, and $6?
It happens, man, but it's very different now than it was, back in the day because the industry's different and you don't have to go to Nashville to make it. You can make it in LaSalle Peru if you learn, how to write songs and how to record them, which I learned how to do all that here in Ottawa. I was between living in Nashville and Chicago, and I was saving money at my folks and started a studio here on the south side of Ottawa and just kind of learned it. Then I went down there with those skill sets. But a lot of people go down there with, the guitar and a dream and a one-way Greyhound ticket, and some of them make it, but most of them don't because it's just tough, I think it's 2,000 people a month move there, and only, a few are going to catch a break, whether it's a publishing deal or as a country star or whatever. I mean, only a few people bubble up every year, so it's tough.
It's like first, last, and security is.
Yeah, it's a tough job market too. I mean, because it's a hot, since they put that show out, it's been a real hot tourist destination for Chicagoans especially.
Yeah.
And it's so cheap. Like my house is like $800 a month.
So pretty much everyone there shows up with first, last, and security.
Yeah.
For rent then.
Yeah. That's basically it, and a little bit of beer money.
Now, many great country songs are written about events that take place in and around bars and things people have seen. You ever had an event or something you saw get turned into a song?
Yeah, I mean, my song Wingman that Billy Currington cut, that was my first country song I ever had cut, and that was definitely a true story about, a friend kind of stealing my thunder with the ladies who was supposed to be my wingman. And that's a true story, but a lot of the time we're all writing from pieces of personal experience together and just kind of trying to do it in a way that everyone can understand and relate to.
Do you ever get scared that maybe you're writing something a little bit too close to the bone, that you might either leave too much of yourself out there or maybe something about somebody else?
Yeah, I do. And then I remember that somewhere in a meeting somewhere, some guy said we should make a movie about a tornado full of sharks, and so then I kind of lose that fear.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Now, you've made some good friends in Nashville, and many of those folks are embarked on superstardom by themselves, and you in no small part have helped them write or produce. Has it changed at all how you approach songwriting, knowing that, what you may be humming in the bathroom one day could be a hit in the radio in 6 to 8 years or months or weeks?
Well, a lot of my friends that blew up without the help of huge amounts of money and major label, massive pushes from huge organizations. A lot of them were just sort of grassroots from the bottom. And it just gives me faith that if I really feel like something's good, just like they did, it'll see the light of day if it's good enough. I feel like if a song is good enough, it'll find a way no matter what, even if you don't have all the pieces of the machine together. So that's kind of the thing that I've taken the most from watching these people blow up.
Well, let's hear one of your songs right now. It's Chris Gelbuda on Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. Good morning. It's Music and Stuff. I'm Charles. Chris Gelbuda in the studio with me this morning. Music and Stuff brought to you by Eureka Savings Bank. The best place to borrow, the best place to save. Chris is a fairly successful singer-songwriter so far. Always looking for more success, I'm sure. And the future holds many great things for him. Have you ever been blown away by someone's interpretation of one of your songs?
Yeah, a lot of young girls with like ukuleles do crazy versions of the stuff I did with Meghan Trainor. Like her fan base is bonkers huge. So sometimes like my mom will send me, a video of a 7-year-old girl with a ukulele playing one of my songs, and it's pretty crazy.
And that's really changed things. The internet has, because now anybody can get their name out there and be seen. It isn't like it was 20 years ago when you're trying to trade tapes or play in a bar where somebody might hear you.
Yeah, I mean, there's an upside and a downside, but the upside is that anybody can, that's where Justin Bieber came from, for better or worse. I like Justin Bieber, I don't care. But he was plucked off of YouTube by Usher and Scooter Braun. They just saw him on YouTube, and anybody can put something on YouTube, and the whole world can see it, which I just could never have imagined as a kid.
Now, you've performed with many country music artists and contributed songs to some. Anyone you'd love to work with or have them perform one of your songs?
Man, I really want to work with Stapleton a lot. And I want to get a cut with George Strait before he's done cutting. And I've come really close, but it's just, everybody, they probably hear 5,000 songs for every 10 he cuts. So it's competitive, but he's my favorite. He's a gentleman. I've met him a couple times, and he's just one of the last few cowboys left. So I'd love to get a cut with him and hang out.
What's one of your favorite George Strait songs?
I'd have to say All My Exes Live in Texas.
Do all your exes live in Texas?
None of my exes live in Texas. They're scattered across the world.
like the wind.
California to London, man.
All right, here's George Strait. All my exes live in Texas on Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. It's Music and Stuff. I'm Charles. Music and Stuff brought to you by Eureka Savings Bank. The best place to borrow, the best place to save. Joining me this morning is Chris Gelbuda. Had a fun night in Ottawa a couple nights ago playing at Riverfest. How'd that go?
Good times. I hope the people of Ottawa aren't sick of me yet.
Well, you're hanging out this morning. We'll get a couple of songs in from you. And you've done some work with somebody who's sort of hit the mainstream and is a little popular, Meghan Trainor. Where'd you two first meet?
I met her at a song expo in Durango, where a bunch of amateur writers go to basically beg people for publishing deals. And that's what we were doing.
I'm still on, my gears are turning here. Just give me a moment. All right. How am I going to get this? Okay, here we go. So at one of these songwriting expos, everyone shows up with loose leaf notebooks and, and guitars in hands and hope somebody likes what they hear.
Yeah, you have showcases you play in, and then you also go into these big scary sessions where you play a song or two of yours for industry people, and they basically tear them apart and tell you what you can improve, or if they love it, they'll take a CD, which is rare. But I heard Meghan perform, and I thought she was like 23 or 24 just based on how good her songs were. And I sent her a Facebook message, and she's like, I'm 16. And I was just like, whoa. And she got discovered because a guy named Al Anderson walked her CD into the office of the publisher we both eventually started working for, Big Yellow Dog in Nashville. And Al was in a band called NRBQ. They were like the best bar band in the world. Bob Dylan's cut their songs and stuff, but he walked her CD into our boss's office and said, sign this girl. And she did, and the rest is history.
Now, when you started to work on, like, I'm Gonna Lose You, which you produced, did you realize it was going to be a huge hit?
Well, I knew it was a great song. I didn't think it was going to be a single, though, because everything she was doing was so, bombastic and poppy and all that stuff. And when she called me and told me it was going to be a single, I was definitely shocked.
And she had her first single, which was all about that bass, which is really just a full-fledged pop song.
Yeah, and then Lips Are Moving was after that. And then Dear Future Husband was after that. And they're all like club pop, real Hot 100 kind of stuff. And this was just like a waltzy ballad. I never saw it coming. It was a reggae song, though, when she brought it to me. So that was We basically tried to make it sound like something that would fit the record, and I thought we failed miserably. And she called me a couple days later and was like, "It's great, it's going to work."
And so when you got the original song, it was obviously written by somebody else, and when it arrived, it was like a reggae sort of tune, and then you guys just kind of crafted it down to what it turned into.
Yeah, she's actually at my house in my home studio. We were finishing the song 3 a.m. that we did in her record. She was cutting some vocals, and we had like an hour and a half left of time, and she said, "Hey, I got this reggae song. Is there any way we could make it work?" And I just sort of started playing it the way it ended up, and really lucked out there.
And here it is, Like I'm Gonna Lose You.
All right. I caught myself dreaming with silver and gold, like a scene from a movie that every broken heart knows. We're walking on moonlight, and you pull me close. Split second and you disappeared, and then I was all alone. I woke up in tears with you by my side, breath of relief that I realize. Yeah, we're not promised tomorrow, so I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. I'm gonna hold you like I'm saying goodbye. Wherever we're standing, I won't take it for granted, 'cause we'll never know when we'll run out of time. So I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. I'm gonna love you like I'm gonna lose you. There you go.
Chris Gelbuda in studio on Classic Country 100.1 WGLC, and that was a monster hit for Meghan Trainor and John Legend, and John Legend was a part of that song. Now, you worked with John Legend on that track?
Never met the guy.
Never met him. So this was all done. How did that come about if you don't ever meet the person on the song?
You send the recording stems between like my production staff and his production staff, and just all over the interwebs.
And it just came into being and became a huge, huge hit.
Yeah, I just emailed and told him what we needed from him, and he just did it. He's a pro.
When did you find out you were getting like any awards for the song or stuff like that? I assume, do they send you a text message? Do you get like a Western Union or?
Those plaques and stuff they give you are like when you get RIAA certified, you know, like the record industry, whatever. You have to pay for those yourself. So my boss gives me one at my publisher, but if I really look into my stuff, I'm paying for that somewhere down the road out of my salary. You know, if you think they come off the platinum record tree, but they don't. You know, it's pretty funny.
So I could probably just go order one for myself then?
If you make a platinum record, you can go order one for yourself, yeah. If I wanted to, I could have a bunch of them in my house, but I'm not going to go buying myself a bunch of plaques. That's just ridiculous. I feel weird even having one in my house. Sort
of feeding the ego maybe a little bit too much?
If you know me, you know I don't need that at all, so...
Well, Chris Gelbuda in studio with us, originally from Ottawa. He's spending time with us this morning on Music and Stuff, brought to you by Eureka Savings Bank. And you've played on quite a few songs already and produced quite a few songs. 10 years from now, do you want to be headlining a tour or in a studio turning ideas into music?
You know, I never want to be on the road anymore after the amount of time I've spent in tour vans in my life. I want to be behind the scenes guy that makes records that people like, and when I want people to show up when my band plays, obviously, but I want to do it, for fun and not sing for my supper for the rest of my life. So I'm hoping to be pretty much doing what I'm doing now, and maybe smoking less cigarettes and on the treadmill more often and looking good. That's the goal for the next 10 years.
That's a lot of people's goals.
Right? Easier said than done, man. You can make a hit song, but try quitting cigarettes. That's another story.
Any advice for those kids with loose leaf notebooks in bedrooms and basements and YouTube channels on how to take their songwriting and performing to the next level?
Just do it as often as possible. I mean, even if you think a song you're writing stinks, just finish it and get it out of your system and go on to the next one, because everybody wants to have written a hit song, but you actually have to sit down and just do it. And if you know me and I did it, anybody can do it, believe me.
You get stuck in an elevator for an hour. What would be the worst song you could be stuck listening to on repeat?
Bittersweet Symphony.
The Verve.
Bittersweet Symphony. Never.
Well, if it's any, consolation to you, if you know the story about that song, obviously the Rolling Stones made the Verve pay dearly for that.
I didn't. So, what song did they jack?
It was the instrumental version of Last Time. It was an orchestra version of the song. They used a sample from it, and they used way too much of the sample, and they didn't give credit to the Glimmer Twins, which is, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and lawyers got involved, and not only did the Rolling Stones people get everything from that song, they got it from the entire album because they were able to make the case that sales from the album were based on the popularity of that.
And rightfully so, because what other hits did they have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's sort of that. Richard Ashcroft, I think, was the guy who was the lead singer of that group. Yeah, very interesting story about how that all came to be.
Well, I just had a really bad case of strep throat one night, and that song kept playing on the radio, and I have a physical response to that song. Can't do it. Cannot do it.
Pavlov's dog.
Exactly. That's the meat powder and the bell right there for a bad time.
Bittersweet Symphony. Chris Gelbuda hanging out with me on Music and Stuff. More after this on Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. It's Music and Stuff brought to you by Eureka Savings Bank. Joining me in studio, Chris Gelbuda. Now, is there an obscure song that you're a big fan of? Something that maybe you've only heard and not a lot of other people have?
Yeah, there's a song called The Perfect Woman. There's this kind of a country blues duo. If you're ever in Southern California, one of the oldest bars in the U.S. is called the Cold Spring Tavern. It's up in the mountains of Santa Barbara, and these two dudes are so rad at the guitar and harmonica and singing, and they write all these old-timey kind of songs, and my favorite one of theirs is called The Perfect Woman. So you want me to play it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I found the perfect woman, boys. Who could ask for more? She's young and pretty and smart and witty, and she owns that liquor store. Yeah, she also is my landlady, and she doesn't charge me rent. And she don't care if I lose my hair or where my money went. Yeah, she cooks like Betty Crocker. She drinks like old Dean Martin. Yeah, she got more dough than Ross Perot, and she's built like Dolly Parton. Oh, I found the perfect woman, boy. She don't care if I snore. Yeah, she lets me hold the remote control, and she owns that liquor store. Well, I found the perfect woman, boys. It's her that I adore. 'Cause she smokes cigars and she plays guitar and owns that liquor store. Yeah, she also is my attorney. She keeps me out of jail. And she don't care about the fun I have, and she always goes my bail. Yeah, she cleans house like Felix Unger, and she can fight like Billy Rogers. And she looks so pleasing, she's got season tickets to the Dodgers. Yeah, I found the perfect woman, boys, my love forevermore. Yeah, she lets me hold the remote control, and she owns that liquor store. Yeah, and she can cook like Betty Crocker. She sings like old Dean Martin. Yeah, she got more bread than the Grateful Dead, and she's put together like Dolly Parton. She's the perfect woman, boys, my love forevermore. Yeah, she's got smarts and she never farts, and she owns a chain. Yeah, she owns a chain of liquor stores. I don't know if we could.
Chris Gelbuda, live in studio on Music and Stuff. Good morning, I'm Charles. Music and Stuff brought to you by Eureka Savings Bank. The best place to borrow, the best place to save. Having fun so far this morning, Chris?
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah. So that song, a little bit bluesy. You got anything else sort of along that same vein?
Yeah, man. I got a kind of a bluesy gospel thing I wrote with my main man, Al Anderson. It's called Easy on This Heart of Mine. in the morning, here we go again. You're sneaking out the old back door. Woe is me, mercy please, don't know if I can take it no more. Your lipstick smeared and your hair's all a mess. Tell me anything, just don't you confess, 'cause you've been wasting my money, wasting my time. Yeah, the least you could do is lie. But whatever you do, don't you tell me the truth, and go easy on this heart of mine. And go easy on this heart of mine. This ain't the first time, no, it won't be the last. You're always running round on me. Yeah, I bet you're a star in every bar, everywhere and in between. You got a lot of nerve to leave me alone, 'cause you know that I'll be waiting when you come back home. And you've been wasting my money, wasting my time. Yeah, the least you could do is lie. But whatever you do, won't you tell me the truth, and go easy on this heart of mine. Any other girl would be so ashamed. Yeah, but you're just fine with dragging down my name. You've been wasting my money, wasting my time. Yeah, the least you could do is lie. But whatever you do, don't you tell me the truth, and go easy on this heart of mine. But whatever you do, don't you tell me the truth. Take it easy on this heart, and go easy on this heart of mine.
Chris Gelbuda on Classic Country, 100.1 WGLC. That was a fun one right there. Thanks for coming in, by the way. I appreciate it. Hanging out. You've done quite a few songs for other artists, and coming up, when we come back, we'll hear some more music from you. All right, Chris?
All right.
That's Classic Country, 100.1 WGLC.
And if I botch it, I'll let you go.
No, it doesn't matter to me.
All right.
It's you.
Here we go. Prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door. Words are so easily spoken, but prayer without faith is like a boat without an oar. So have faith when you speak to the Master. That's all He'll ask you for. Prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door. Have faith when you speak to the Master. That's all He'll ask you for. Yes, prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door.
Classic Country, 100.1 WGLC. It's Music and Stuff. Charles with you. Good morning. Music and Stuff brought to you by Eureka Savings Bank. The best place to borrow, the best place to save. Joining me in studio, Chris Gelbuda. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Playing music and having fun with us this morning. You've got a new song on the Frankie Ballard album that's out right now.
Yes, sir. It's called You Could Have Loved Me. It's on El Rio, which just dropped. You want me to play it?
Oh, yeah. Go right on ahead.
You could have loved me, but I did it all wrong. Running around, taking my time, taking too long. You were an anchor, I was wild and free, but you could have loved me. It's crazy to see you wearing that ring. We could have been young and dumb and reckless. We could have been everything. You had your reasons, I had my dreams, but you could have loved me. Sometimes love falls in your hands. Sometimes love has other plans. Sometimes good things just get away from us. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have any regrets. I just know it has to be this way because I'm still exactly who I was. Yeah, you could have loved me if it happened just right. But we rise and we fall and we can't win them all, 'cause that's just life. It ain't like the stories you see in the movies, but you could have loved me. Sometimes love falls in your hands. Sometimes love has other plans. Sometimes good things just get away from us. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have any regrets. I just know it has to be this way because I'm still exactly who I was. But you could have loved me if I could have stayed. But the world kept pulling me out of this town, and it's better that way, 'cause I'm still a dreamer, wild and free. But you could have loved me. Ooh, 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 yeah, you could have loved me. Ooh, 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 you could have loved me. Ooh, 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 you could have loved me. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Classic Country, 100.1 WGLC. Chris Gelbuda hanging out with me on Music and Stuff. Hope you're having a good morning so far, Chris. Having fun playing some great songs.
Yeah, having a good time.
Now, we're going to be streaming this online, of course. We'll have this up at our website at some point in the next couple of days as well, so people can check it out at WGLC.net. A couple more questions for you this morning. If you could form a supergroup right now with anybody, who would you pick? Like 5 or 6 people, just to create a band right now.
Ooh, well, like I said earlier, definitely Stapleton would be in there somewhere. I love Jason Isbell. I love Sturgill Simpson. I like Eric Church. All those new guys I'm digging. I don't know. If it was a super group, though, you'd probably see me with a bunch of members of the Grateful Dead and Fish, because that's my jam. And
Fish is a traveling, touring, amazing sort of eclectic band, I guess you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I guess you call them a jam band. They're sort of the torchbearers for the Grateful Dead society, I don't know, and traveling circus of people.
And you're a big fan, so I'm going to ask a very painful question. How many times have you seen Fish perform?
I'm not going to say exactly how many, but it's between, I don't know. I don't even know exactly how many. I would say probably about 120.
120 times.
I'm going to see him 11 times this fall alone. Like, it's the only band I can go and see and just be a fan of the band and not break down their lyrics and their arrangements and be like music business guy. Like, I can just go to the show and just be like everybody else. That's why I go to Fish shows.
And when you're talking about Fish, by the way, you kind of lit up like you're a kid at a candy store.
I love it.
Looking at a big jar of gummy bears. Your eyes are just big and wide, and you're just beaming when you're talking about Fish. Are we going to hear, or are you going to play any Fish
No,
today?
I'm not going to play Fish. No.
Is it one of those things where you just can't because they're your idols? Is that?
No, it's just that they just do their own thing. As much as I'd love to be able to make their kind of music, they're just Fish is just Fish. I can't touch it. They need to be the ones playing it, not anybody else.
It's like improving the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. You're just not even going to attempt it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd say the Sistine Chapel, but it's definitely something nice.
Well, let's get one more song in before we say goodbye today. What are we going to play?
Man, I'm going to play a song by one of my heroes and mentors, a guy named Chuck Cannon. And I'm sure the listeners of the station are familiar with some of the songs he's written. He wrote I Love the Way You Love Me by John Michael Montgomery, and How Do You Like Me Now by Toby Keith, and a ton of other hits. And he's kind of like, if you meet the guy, he's a lot like Sam Elliott in Big Lebowski. He's just got that real slow, like, hey, man, let me tell you something, man. You know, I used to ask him advice on songwriting, and he'd be like, man, there's nothing new under the sun, man. You just do whatever you feel like. And I'd be like, all right. He told me all kinds of great stuff. So anyway, I'm rambling, but this is one of his, it's my favorite song of his called Out of This Town. Well, there's only one road going through these parts. It pretty much stops right where it starts. It goes nowhere except around and around. I ain't never gonna get out of this town. I ain't never gonna get out of this town. Well, the trains rolled out and they never came back. There's weeds growing up through a rusted old track. Them planes fly over, but they never touch down. I ain't never gonna get out of this town. I ain't never gonna get out of this town. There's this dream that I've been dreaming now for years, where I fly into the sun and disappear. I got an old Chevy Nova sitting up on blocks, bunch of greasy old parts in a cardboard box. Got her running one time, but she broke back down. I ain't never gonna get out of this town. There's this dream that I've been dreaming now for years, where I fly into the sun and disappear. But you just can't get there from here. Yeah, they buried my daddy, sang Amazing Grace. The preacher says now he's in a better place. But I couldn't help thinking when they put him in the ground. I ain't never gonna get out of this town.
Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. We'll have more with Chris Gelbuda after this on Classic Country 100.1 WGLC.
Okay. This is a song called On My Way to You, and it's going to be on Love and Theft's upcoming record here. And I wrote this with my friend Johnny Balford in Nashville, Tennessee. Sorry, honey, what'd you say again? I could lie, but I ain't got a clue. I was just remembering everywhere I've been on my way to you. I used to think that I was all but lost, but honey, when you kiss me like you do, I know I'm where I belong. I wasn't lost at all. I was on my way to you. 'Cause every time love took a turn, every time I crashed and burned, it's the thought of you that held me up again. And long before I saw your face, even in my wilder days, I was praying you just around the bend. Now heaven knows I felt a broken heart. Even might have broke a couple too. But every time I'd run, because they weren't the one, I was on my way to you. Every time love took a turn, every time I crashed and burned, it's the thought of you that held me up again. And long before I saw your face, even in my wilder days, I was praying you were just around the bend. Now I could second guess my whole dang life, but you make it impossible to do. Girl, I don't have one regret, knowing that I've always been on my way to you. Ooh, on my way to you.
Classic Country 100.1 WGLC. It's Music and Stuff. I'm Charles. Music and Stuff brought to you by Eureka Savings Bank. Best place to borrow, best place to save. Chris Gelbuda in studio this morning. And we've had a great time today listening to some of your great songs and some of those great stories about songwriting and the experience.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me in here.
Anytime you want to wander on in, you're more than welcome to.
Right.
At least knock loudly so I know you're out there.
I will.
But come on in, play some more for us. And when you got something else coming out, you said maybe there was some other songs coming out on some other artists'
There's
albums.
some stuff coming out. You know, we got some stuff with Robert Randolph and Darius Rucker, and just fingers crossed when it's all. I'll be happy when it's out. We'll figure it out then, I guess.
And we'll see you again sometime on the road. I'm sure they can follow you somewhere. Can people keep track of what you're doing?
Just type in my last name, Gelbuda. That's my name on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to see me pontificate about politics, definitely add me on Facebook, and we'll have a great time.
And coming up next week on Music and Stuff, we'll have the Hoffman Girls coming into play for us again and talk about some of their favorite songs. It's Music and Stuff on Classic Country 100.1 WGLC.